Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
Welcome to the Final Furlong Podcast and our second weekend preview. We've already done a preview for the Preakness with two of our favourite American pundits. They have got a 20-1 shot for their trifecta and an 8-1 banker on the undercard. We've got George Gorman, Andy Newton and Jake Wilkes here to preview the best of Saturday's action. We'll touch on a little bit of the Irish racing on Sunday as well. I think we're going to hold the reaction to the Line in Winter a little bit later on. We'll just go straight to finding you as many winners as possible, shall we? 12:50, Newbury's where we're going to kick it off. It's the 1 mile 4 Sky Sports Racing Ashton Park Stakes to Group 3, 8 runners, the dead 8 as things stand. Going as you would expect is good. Might even be good to firm as we get closer to the race day, but I'm sure they'll water at Newbury. And King's Gambit is your favourite. 5-2 is the price with William Hill and some other bookmakers around. He's going to take quite a bit of beating. He was a winner in this card in the London Gold Cup a year ago. Hasn't won since that race, to be fair, but, well, all the changes. First time gelding operation, first time blinkers, first time Ryan Moore, first run of the season in the UK. His most recent run in the Middle East behind Rebels Romance looks well in the context of this race. More importantly, George, so does that run behind Los Angeles and Illinois, who have both franked it this season. Surely he's a banker for the lucky 31, lucky 63.
Yeah, like you say, you've got King's Gambit with all the firsts. You've got Somewhere in El Cordobés, a sort of like on the improve, like slightly less race than some of these. Technically, the best in at the weights is Courage Mon Ami, but obviously over this trip,
he's a boat.
Interesting, particularly with the big old break under his belt. I think 631 days it'll be. But I'm just tempted here by the one that I just think whenever the ground goes firm-sided good, I just think, let's go. And he's won 2 of his 3 starts on good to firm last year, with the third being second by a length on seasonal debut, which was, as we remember, it had sort of it nearly had a year off, really. It missed the first half of the season. He's performed to an RPR of 115 or above 15 times in his career out of 23 runs, including 4 of his last 5. So the exception for that was his final run of last season on heavy ground. If you want to look at the same like runs to RPRs of above 115, King's Gambit is 2 from 9, El Cordobés 0 from 6, Someway 2 from 12. And I just think he's sort of seems to have managed to get the soundness side of it right, Al-Arzi. He's on a good little run now. Like I said, he's 4 of his last 5 he's run to above 115 RPRs. He's carried on his good run of form with a good seasonal debut win in what I thought was a competitive Gordon Richards Stakes. And that was on seasonal debut, and he was a lot slower away than usual and still managed to come out on top. I think on this sort of ground, he's probably the one to follow. The one I would have a point of view, but I think the price has gone a bit, is Table Talk, being one of the least experienced, just 7 career starts, but improving all the time. He's run to a career best RPR on every single start, except when bombing out on soft ground on his final run of last season at Ascot in October. His 2 career wins have come on the all-weather and good to firm turf, and his 2 attempts on good ground have yielded a third and a second by a short head on his seasonal reappearance last time out, where he beat Someway 2 lengths off level weights. Like if he can improve off that, he ought to be the same price as Someway or maybe a bit shorter. I think when I first looked through it, he was about 10s. 15-2 isn't quite as enticing, but if he went out to 8s or 9s, I might have been interested. But the main play is Al-Arzi.
He's as short as 13-2 is the price I'm looking at about him. It is a really intriguing race. Like on paper, Andy, to me, I can't get away from King's Gambit. All those changes. If he's not going to win this race, particularly seeing as he was a winner on this card a year ago, then when is he going to do it? But then you look at Sunway, you look at Al-Arzi, who's as old as the hills, but still runs to great form. Even look at the Godolphin horse. There's plenty in there.
Yeah, 100%. You can, defo make a case for, all of those 5 that, George has mentioned there. And I agree. I mean, that was one of the sort of things I took out of the race with the prices with Sunway and Table Talk. I mean, double the price when it, finished a couple of lengths ahead of it in the John Porter at Newbury. Should improve more, less exposed, like a race than Sunway. And what I think Sunway's on a, I know the form is there. It ran the Arc and stuff, but it's runs now without a win, so just can't have that at all, personally. I mean, Al Lassie, actually won this race back in 2021 as well. Haggis has won 2 of the last 4. It's great that they're keeping it in training. It's 8 now. Loves Newbury. 4 wins here at the Berkshire track. Haggis's horse are flying as well, and that looks the safest option, personally. I mean, King's Gambit as well. I mean, it's had, like you say, all these bits and bobs done to it. The form of the with the Foxes coming out and winning at Chester has been franked with that Qatar run. So yeah, Ryan's going to attract a load of attention. That will certainly go off favourite. El Cordobez, I mean, he just got, is that going to, it was impressive last time in a handicap. They obviously think it's going to cope with the step up in grade. Table Talk just looks the value for me, personally. We've got the dead 8 in there. Hopefully none get pulled out. And I just thought it was gutsy last time. That was his first run of the season, wasn't it? I think last time, so should improve. And I can see that price coming more into sort of 5s, 6s, personally. And that looks the play for me. Table Talk each way.
Yeah, clear as Sunway as well. That was sick. He won that race. I had him nicely in mind for a race later in the season. It was not that race, and then you're watching him win at a double-figure price going, what kind of an idiot are you to not back him? Jake, you're not an idiot. You're a very shrewd man. So what have you got for us?
After listening to George and Andy say Sunway is no price compared to Table Talk, I'm now going to promote Sunway.
Oh, here we go. Fight and talk. Let's go.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're setting our stall out early on my debut on the Final Furlong podcast here, but I'm thinking a busy campaign took his toll last year when he ran no sort of race in the Arc. I'm sided on with caution here that he's going to improve from his recent run at Newbury. If you watch the race back, he actually took quite a prominent role, dropped a little bit into mid-pack, and then travelled into the race in the closing stages quite well. I just think a lack of race fitness might have caught up with him in that race. Looking through his back form, obviously, ties in with the Irish Derby, and in the St. Leger, he ran good races. I feel like we haven't seen the best of this horse. I know he was 2 lengths behind Table Talk last time, and to be honest, there wasn't many excuses. However, I think with the benefit of that run, I think he can improve. I think he's got a classy angle. And if he's fresher and better for that run, I think he's got a good chance. David Manoussier, 0 from 12. His horses haven't been running too well, so that would be a slight concern. And if we compared it to the others, like George said, he looked better than ever the last time. El Cordobez seems to be repaying that expensive price tag slowly but surely. And King's Gambit obviously looks a good proposition, but I feel like he's skinny enough at 5-2 in a race where it's quite competitive, but I wouldn't put you off him. And then obviously Courage Mon Ami, like George said, the obvious class, but a mammoth absence over an inadequate trip. So, it's a good little race, but I would be siding with Sunway tentatively. But I do appreciate the factors of he was 2 lengths behind Table Talk last time. I'm kind of going in hindsight, hoping that he improves to the run a little bit.
Group 3 is not a Group 1, but it will certainly be a welcome winner for Kieran Schumacher if he can get the horse over the line, and he should be able to eligible to improve second run off a layoff. If I'm going to make a big thing about King's Gambit's form with Los Angeles, how can you not make a big thing about Sunway's Irish Derby form? It's a good shout. I like it. 7-2 is the price I'm currently seeing about Sunway. You might get a little bit bigger, but note of caution about the form of the yard. That being said, wouldn't be too worried about that. David Manoussier has got a very interesting horse that we'll talk about in the feature race a little bit later on. We'll switch to Newmarket for the Reed Meg Nichols blog at betmgm.co.uk handicap. It's a class 3 over 7 furlongs. 9 runners, good ground. Physique is your favourite. Pam Sly. Her team are in great form. This was a horse that caught the attention of the stewards back at the start of the season, probably rightly so, but wasn't too much in it. He's dropped in class here for his 4th start of the season. Course and distance winner in his juvenile days. Won a Galway handicap off this mark last season and ran to his highest RPR last time out. Spencer takes over. He should go close, George.
Yeah, he would, but he's not the one that interests me here. I think Ides of March, there's plenty more to come from this horse. Actually, the highest RPR in the field of 121. He's a maiden winner on good to firm and a Group 3 winner on good ground.
Oh,
and
mate, we're going Newmarket, 105.
105. Oh, shit, sorry. 105. Right, okay.
Welcome to the Final Furlong Podcast, Jake. Professional operation here.
Yeah,
that should be me doing that, George. Come on, you're a seasoned vet.
No, sorry.
And I swapped
I've
them
done
around.
them by race course rather than by time. Yeah.
You're okay.
Cheeky little edit.
Is that being edited, or are we leaving that in as live?
Leave that in.
That's staying in, apparently, George.
To be fair, George, I was on the same race as you as well, mate. So luckily with you, I would have 100% done the same thing.
What are we doing here, gents? What are we doing?
Okay, read Megan Nichols' blog at betmgm.co.uk handicap will be won by...
I've got Leafy. That's the right race, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was beaten at Newbury over 7 furlongs on good to firm, by 3/4 a length off this mark, by Lethal Levi 3 starts back, who obviously went on to win again next time out of £4 higher, before then being beaten just a length off £11 higher. So beaten by a very well handicapped rival off this mark, just 3 starts back. He was then beaten a length and a quarter on soft ground on his final run of the season. Like, that ground wouldn't have suited him. He dropped back to 6 furlongs to make his seasonal debut and was beaten again. I see a replication of that Newbury effort back under conditions that suit will see him hard to beat. If you were looking at one at more of an each way price, Harvard Sound has only had 2 turf starts, both at Lingfield, over 7 furlong on good to firm. He's won both, admittedly, one at a shade of odds on, one at long odds on in a 3-runner race. But essentially, he's unbeaten on the turf. And we know good to firm turf over 7 furlongs suits. He's been pulled out on 4 occasions on the turf, with all those going descriptions being good to soft or worse. That sort of gives you more backup that this sort of ground he's looking for. Look, he was poor last time, but other than that, he's been pretty consistent. The 2 starts ago, he actually finished 12th of 14, which reads really badly. But he was actually only beaten 4 3/4 lengths by the winner, who was Roy de France, who ran in the Victoria Cup last weekend and has finished 2nd and 3rd this season off £9 higher than he was that day. I just think a return to the turf could well find a horse like this well handicapped.
I like it, George. Walifi, though, is the main pick, and the Haggis team have won this twice in the last 4 years, and their team are going very, very well. Kieran Fallon in the saddle. Andy Newton for you.
Yeah, look, can't have physique. I think that's been on the slide a tad. I think it's about 4s now. I think when I looked the other day, it was sort of more like 5-2, 3-1. Yeah, I mean, look, good second at Newmarket last time out, but only up £2. But no winning 6 would be the sort of worry for me with physique. Yeah, look, Walifi, as you say, Haggis cracking record in this race, like the similar race that the one we just talked about. He's got a good record in that as well. If you like your stats, look, 6 of the last 8 have been age 4 or 6 in this race. We've got a chunk of 4-year-olds in there, and I think 1 6-year-old Sterling Knight. I don't know if there's another one. Is there down the bottom? No, that's the last one. So there are a couple of stats to throw out, and also the draw as well. Last 5 have been drawn between 5 and 8 here. So Walifi just sort of falls outside that in 4. But look, I still think that's a cracking shout. I like George said. I think last time the trip was a little bit short side over 6 furlongs. Up in trip as well to 7 today will suit. Last year as well, I think it looked like it needed to run. It came 4th at Leicester and then bounced back out. It wasn't in May, it was in June. So just gives you a little bit of an indication that possibly does need a little bit of a sort of a pipe opener to get going, Walifi. And then the other one that I think will outrun its odds is the Edery horse, that Madame de Savannah.
Yeah.
The course and distance winner. Look, last time that run was just too bad to be true. It was sent off 4-1 at Donny. Had a little bit of traffic problems if you watch it back, but I don't think that was the real reason. I mean, it came 13th or 14th, and I think once the sort of chance was gone, then I think James Dorr was on that day. It was a bit of a guide it home type of ride. But look, the main reason is that it just absolutely loves Newmarket. I mean, I think its last 3 runs on the Rolling Mile, 3-1 and a second. So yeah, I can see that taking a massive step forward from its Donny run. And that's around 10s, I think, that Madame de Savannah, I think it's called.
Bizarrely, just as you were talking, cut to 17-2 by William Hill, but 10-1 is indeed available about Madame de Savigny. She did us a favour on the Final Furlong podcast last year, so we remember that horse fondly. Jake, what have you got for us?
I'm going to side with the outsider of the entire field, Sterling Knight, for Ed Dunlop and Billy Loughnane.
Damn.
I think consistency is at a premium in a race of this nature. I think there are horses who need to bounce back from a poor run last time out, and Sterling Knight doesn't need to do that. If you look at his last 5 out of his last 6 RPRs are in the 90s, with his lowest being 88. He's off an unchanged mark from last time out at Newmarket, where he finished 4th in a competitive handicap behind a horse called Great Chief Payne, who looked well in. He's very consistent. There might not be a lot of wiggle room in his mark of 88. However, he has won off 93 in the past. Won off 90 in the past, sorry. And his peak figures were 93. So whilst he's not overly well handicapped to the eye, there is room which might help in a race like this. There is a slight concern. He finishes his races off well over a mile. He's actually dropping back in trip, which wouldn't be ideal to myself. But he drops a furlong. He's been on the go a long time, this horse. He's had 20 runs since the start of last year. So he's a good yardstick. And when you're relying on some horses having to bounce back, he's a solid option. 12-1's a generous price. I think the main danger rate says Walifi. I think Walifi's better than a mark of 87, and going back up in trip will help. But I think Sterling Knight at a play, you can be sure he's going to run to the low 90s mark, and hopefully he can hit the frame, and you never know what could happen.
Billy the Kid on board for Ed Dunlop. Camelot is going to have a big player over a mile later in the day. Can he win over 7 furlongs with Sterling Knight? 11-1, if you think he can. And I quite like that from Jake. I was all over the favourite with Jamie Spencer on board, and then Andy and George basically blew that one out of the water. So you've been the most persuasive, Jake. We'll switch to...
Yeah, I didn't slag it. I didn't slag it off, so you're okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. But no, I quite like that Sterling Knight call. George, we're going to talk about the 125 at Newbury now. And Ides of March. No. This is the Highclere Castle Gin Carnarvon Stakes. It's the listed race. 11 runners again. The going is good. Ides of March ran well on ground that wouldn't have suited on his seasonal debut behind Group 1 winning stable companion Whistle Jacket. He's going to be taking on Barbouche on Sunday, we think, as things stand in Ireland. He wasn't beaten far on fast ground over 5 furlongs in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint last season. This race should be ideal for him, and he should take the beating. But I thought Caburn was really, really interesting, based on his gym-crap form, with Shadow of Light finishing 3rd in the Guineas, having won 2 Group 1s as a juvenile. A Symbol of Strength and Big Mojo both performed very well in group races subsequently. And his last run as a final run for a juvenile last season, that was way too bad to be true. He wasn't travelling well when he was hampered 2 furlongs out, but maybe just a couple of hard races earlier in the season had caught up with him. He's interesting at a big price, but I do think Ides of March will take a lot of beating for the informed Aidan O'Brien, for all that one big gun didn't quite fire for Aidan O'Brien today, but everything else has been winning. George, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I won't be looking any further than Ides of March here. Clear of them on RPRs of 121. Shouldn't mind the ground. He's already a winner of Maiden on good to firm and a Group 3 on good ground. And actually ran with a lot of credit, dropping back in trip in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint on firm ground. His career best effort on RPRs came on his reappearance when he was run down late by Whistle Jacket on soft ground. That's just all the more impressive. You think Whistle Jacket, I think his career wins have come on soft and good to soft. Even more impressive, you take into account the Ides of March actually pulled out of the middle part last season on soft ground due to unsuitable ground, and has then made his reappearance this year on soft ground and run a career best. So what's he going to do back on ground that suits? I just think that there's a big step forward potentially in him, which will take him clear of... I was half interested in the second favourite, but I think if a return to his preferred ground can bring out another £6, he shouldn't get near him.
Oh, I'm liking that confidence, Andy Newton. That's exactly what I want to hear. What do you have to say?
Yeah, look, I'm with Ides of March here as well, so it might be a clean sweep. We'll see what Jake says as well. But yeah, look, the run last time at Navan was super duper, wasn't it? I mean, only sort of got chinned on the line really by Whistle Jacket. Like George said, the firmer ground, the better ground will suit here. Aidan's never won this race, actually. I mean, I'm not sure how many runners he's, not that many, but he seems to be farming quite a lot more over this early part of the season, which is great. And the fact it had an entry on Sunday in Ireland, and they're preferring to come here is a plus for me as well. So it seems to be ready to rock and roll. And then, of the others, I think Symbol of Honour. I think its record over 6 furlongs is fairly decent. So the drop back in trip here will suit. I think it's 1-6-1-1, but that 6 came in the Coventry, so you can probably upgrade that as well. So that will certainly be there or thereabouts. I think over the 6 furlongs, and then the Richard Hughes horse. I think it's, as you say, it's Sayadar Darian. That one, that's got the form tied in with that horse that ran today at York, that Mr. Lightside, I think it's called, and that didn't really run that great. So I can put a line through that one. Needs to run a bit better. It's been running on your weather at Chelmsford over 6 furlongs. But yeah, look, Ides of March. It's got some fancy entries after this. I mean, it's in the Irish 2,000 guineas, and then a trio of races at Royal Ascot. So I'm not quite sure if they're trip yet, because it's in the old King's Stand, which is now what called the King Charles II or something. It's in the St James's Palace, and it's in the Commonwealth Cup. So they're over 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs, and a mile. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Ides of March, I think that's going to be many people's banker, or one of the sort of bankers of the weekend, personally, especially with Ryan on. Yeah,
I can't imagine the 7-4 is going to last a whole lot longer, Jake.
No, I can't either, Emmett, to be honest. However, I am not with Ides of March here. We're spotting a common theme here of me going against these guys.
It's normally me, don't worry.
It adds variety to the podcast. It'd be boring if we all said the same thing. So
true.
I following on from Andy, I am with Symbol of Honour in this race. He touched on his 6 furlong record. I think it is phenomenal. Without it, he was 6th in the Coventry Stakes. Like you say, you can upgrade that. He was then gelded a couple of days later. He's been having a productive campaign during the winter months, as most of the Godolphin horses do. He was disappointing last time out, but I'm going to put that down to 7 furlongs, stretching him slightly. He should be a little bit sharper for that run. I do see the Ides of March as being a big danger. Obviously, that form with Whistle Jacket, and we'll touch on Whistle Jacket later. It reads well, but I do feel like that was his chance. He had everything go his way that day, and he still got reeled in. He had a tough race, and so at 13-8, I can still see the appeal, but it just wouldn't be for me. And I thought the only other interesting option there was the Saida Darian. Just based on his last Condition Stakes win at Chelmsford. Not so much the horse that finished runner-up that day, Mr. Lightside, who Andy mentioned ran today, and he was poor, he was too keen, whatever. In third that day was a horse called Sky Majesty, who's won a Group 2 in France and a Group 3 in Air, producing RPRs of 108. So Saida Darian finished 2 lengths clear of that one, so I thought might rate as a danger, probably to fill the places, but of Honour, hopefully back over 6 furlongs, should be there or thereabouts, and hopefully improves and can serve it up to Ides of March.
There were a few black armbands that day at Chelmsford. Sky Majesty was considered an absolute stone cold, solid moral. It was Easter, all-weather finals day. All of the action was in Newcastle. Everybody chums over to Chelmsford to get stuck into this horse, and she gets duffed by Saida Darian. Yeah, very interesting performance, but that Haggis horse will be one to watch out for going forward. Okay, Ides of March. Don't complicate your mind. Ides of March wins. 147 furlongs JCB Handicap is an intriguing race. A Fondo Blanco. I mean, look, I'm not exactly original here. Roger Varian had 3 options for him this weekend. 1 Sunday, 2 on Saturday. This is the race they've decided to go for. Eligible to improve on his second start off a layoff. Mark of 85 looks pretty fair for his handicap debut. He could improve, stretching out to 7 furlongs for the first time. Ray Dawson rides. He was on board when he won his second career start last season. Thought he would more than likely win, George, but I'm willing to be tempted elsewhere. What do you have?
Yeah, well, I looked at this race before Dex, and you're just looking at quite a few horses that seem solidly on the upgrade, horses making handicap debut. and you're just trying to base an opinion on what's unknowable, which is which one still has £5 left in hand. So I thought, I'm just going to leave all of them. I'm going to take a swing at a couple each way that I know are well handicapped, and hopefully get something into the placings at a price. And I think I had 2 left in when decks came out, and both of them were declared in first-time headgear. So hopefully we've got this. Hopefully we've got something right here. So the first one is Miss Collada, one with Alec Wojcicki on, who rides again off this mark just 4 starts ago. Over this trip at Kempton. He's been dropped in trip on 3 subsequent starts despite winning over this trip, and has managed to get back down to the winning mark in just 4 starts. And actually ran reasonably the last twice. I just think returns 7 furlong here, wearing first time blinkers on the right mark, and you're getting a huge price for it. And the other one is Griselda, who's been half a length off a pound lower just 3 starts ago, over 6.5 furlong on good ground at Doncaster. Well beaten on 2 starts since, but the one was his first encounter with heavy ground, and the other one was his first run on the all-weather. So again, managed to get back down to a mark off a pound higher. He's managed to get here a pound higher than his when he was just beaten half a length a few starts back. And I think the first time cheap pieces suggest he's to be taken seriously if staying this trip is the only thing. He has run over 7, but he hasn't actually sort of like run. There's not enough data to really say if he does stay 7 yet. But he did go very close over 6.5 a few starts back. And I say he's a pound higher here. I think those two, they're the 2 outsiders of the field, both declared in first time cheap pieces. Let's see if we can get one of them to run into the 3.
I'm liking that very much so. 25 to 1 and 14 to 1 are the prices I'm looking at for both horses right now. Andy, for you?
Yeah, I am in the Haggis weekend sort of camp. This is probably like the 3rd one I've put up already of the Haggis horses, and we've done about 4 races. But I just think the solid one here looks like Art Market. I mean, it's the only course and distance winner in the field. A nice winner here last time out. That was its first run after being gelded, only up £5. And look, the Haggis horses are going great guns at the moment. I know the Hannon horses are as well. So
another winner today at York.
Another one at York today, which obviously bodes well for some other races we're going to talk about later on. So that one, the bigger price one that George put up, that Miss Collada, could be an interesting one. But look, the favourite's probably going to be the Varian horse. But look, their form of their runners at the moment, don't know. I think they're about 2 from 19 as of today. So that's a little bit of a worry. But that, a lot of people are going to latch on to that. The way it finished last time out, over 6 furlongs, up to 7, certainly going to suit unexposed. You can see why it's going to be sort of popular in the betting. But Art Market for me, proven on the track, yard in form. And, I think last time it was a 0 to 80, it's only a 0 to 85 now. So I think the 2nd and 3rd in behind it that day have run okay. I don't think they've won, but I think they've run okay. So yeah, Art Market for me.
Okay, 2 to big price for George. Art Market is a solid 3 to 1 shot for Andy. Jake, what about you?
I actually agree with Andy. So there you go. Art Market, I think, for William Haggis. I followed this horse quite closely for a little while. It took a little while for the penny to drop, but he won his 2 nurseries, and I thought he would kick on a little bit. He was gelded after having a disappointing end to the campaign last season. He was gelded before last time out, where he won, produced his best effort off a mark of 79. He's been raised £5 to that. I actually had him down as about a 90 rated animal. So if you were looking at that sort of style, he's off 84 today, so you'd have £6 in hand. He's 1 from 1 at the track, and I think he's got scope for improvement out of that mark. I agree with what George said. When I was looking before the decks, there was a lot of unexposed handicappers coming into the race. There was a horse called Nakib who was entered but not declared, and similarly Fondo Blanco. He's a bit of an unknown entity. He's stepping up in trip, but I'd rather side with Art Market at 3 to 1 than Fondo Blanco at 5 to 2 with what I'm looking at. Just a small mention on a horse called We Dare to Dream. He won last time out. Form took a nice boost yesterday. The runner-up, Frankie's Dream, ran 5th, and it was a close 5th in a competitive handicap at York. So there might be something there, but the Art Market, and I'm sorry to Andy in advance for picking his fancy.
No problem, mate.
Well, it's not like you stole it. You had your own work done, so that's perfectly okay. By the way, speaking of the Roger Varian yard, yeah, it has been a frustrating time for them, but race 3 on TalkSport 2 tomorrow at York. Maybe by the time you're watching this, the race has already been done, in which case I look like an idiot. But it wouldn't be the first time, and it certainly won't be the last. But if Gullia hasn't won that race, I would imagine Roger Varian will just be really smashing his head off the wall very, 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 very firmly. Gullia, daughter of Knight of Thunder, she'll take all the beating tomorrow in the 3:13. Hopefully, that horse will have gone close. Back to Newbury for the Trade Nation London Gold Cup over 10 furlongs. Always a good race. King's Gambit took it last year. Back in 4th, was it? Or 3rd? Was it 2nd, actually? Poneros, the 100-1 Triumph Hurdle winner. Was he the runner-up?
Was it?
Please hold caller.
Perinos was a runner-up, yeah.
Unbelievable scenes. How did not imagine that would have been your form line? Imagine if your form line for Cheltenham. Well, he was runner-up in the London Gold Cup last year, so at 100-1 he could be a go. Outrageous scenes. Okay, 96 looks like a really tempting mark to me for Genealogy. Got some very good juvenile form to his name for Aidan O'Brien, narrowly beaten on debut by Acapulco Bay, and then behind Delacroix at Newmarket when he was a little bit disappointing, but the form of that race has obviously worked out well, and Delacroix is now the favourite to win the Derby after 2 Derby trial successes, and you could argue Genealogy didn't quite run his race that day. Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore, in a race they have won before, George Gorman, with a horse running off a mark of 96 who's by Wootton Bassett out of a Dutch Art mare. Thanks very much.
Yeah, like there's plenty to like about him and about Nibros. I think I actually trashed the form of this race last year going into Royal Ascot, because everyone expects it to work out well, and I don't think it worked out all that well last year.
You were right.
But then
King's Gambit got duffed.
Exactly, and then but I did then I think on the Cheltenham review show say, well, there you go, it worked out all right. Once
a year later and over hurdles, it suddenly came good.
But look, it's similar to the last race. I sort of put together my list of potential sort of group horses and my potential well-handicapped horses. And one of the well-handicapped ones that I thought would be a big price is a little shorter. And the more I look at it, the more I think it's a big old plot. Is Wave Rider for Harry Charlton.
Oh.
He hasn't been far away in 3 runs over 7 furlongs, including on Good to Firm when finishing 4th on debut. And most recently, he ran on from midfield to be beaten a short head at Wolverhampton. On all those occasions, he looked like he was crying out for further. And yet, with this son of Bilardo out of a Golden Horn mare, they stuck to 7 furlongs to make a handicap debut up 3 furlongs in trip in a very valuable handicap. And just in case he's been lit up by 7 furlongs, they've stuck the hood on as well. This stinks of a plot to me. And I thought, based on what he's achieved on the race course, he would be a bit bigger than this. But I think there's either people in the stable or other people have looked at it and thought the same as me, because he's fairly short for what he's achieved so far in his career. It looks a plot to me. I can't leave it. I'd have to back Wave Rider here. But slightly bigger price. Lightning Man is very progressive. It's probably slightly too big a price, but I just love this angle with Wave Rider. Like his pedigree screams middle distance horse, and he's been running on 3 runs over 7 furlongs and just waited. Handicap debut, big handicap on a Saturday at Newbury. Yeah, I'll be with Wave Rider here.
Who won this race last year?
Exactly.
Was it?
Who was it trained by?
Harry Charlton. Who won the race 10 and 9 years ago? Yeah, Roger Charlton. And who was the Group 1 winner they ran in the race that got duffed? He then beat Camelot at Royal Ascot. Al-Kazim.
Al-Kazim, yeah.
They love this race. The Charltons love this race. 5 times he's won, Andy?
5.
Give us the stats. 20. Give us the stats. And does that mean you're backing him?
Mate, I'm all over it with George as well. I mean, it was more like 10s or 9s as well. Can now see bits of 7s. Possibly people are, latching onto the stable form in this race, Harry Charlton. And yeah, like George said, I mean, the pedigree, the Dam Sire has got some golden horn there, and the way it's been running over 7 furlongs just sort of screams out that it's been wanting further. Handicap debut, first time hood would be a little bit of a niggle maybe, but maybe they just mean business and they want to go for it with that. And also, if you go back to its second to last race at Yarmouth, which came in, it came third to a horse called Salao. The second horse, called Roman Centurion, has won since. There's a horse that came fourth called Prince of India, has won twice since. And even the fifth, Power Fizz, I think it was called, has won 3 times since that race. So, that form is super duper rock solid to me. Whack that in with the stable form in this race, and Wave Rider. It's gonna go off second favourite at least, I think, in this race.
Oh.
Behind the O'Brien horse. Yeah, look, Ryan Moore's got a good record on this. He's won it 4 times, but there is a massive stat against the genealogy. 18 of the last 21 have finished in the top 3 last time out. That hasn't. That came 5th. All right, we're all right with Wave Rider. Came 2nd last time. All right, so boom, that stat's all right. Okay.
Yeah, a mark of 83 for Wave Rider is considerably different to a mark of 96 for Genealogy. I do think that it's a very, very fair mark for Aidan's horse. And they could have run Light as Air in this race, who is race fit. And was it Shanti won the same handicap last year that Light of Air was mullered in this year and then came on to be placed in this race? Light of Air could have gone for this, but goes for another race in Ireland. Oh, the two of you are talking me off an Aidan O'Brien winner here. If Jake comes along and just says, no, the Charlton horse is the way to go, then that's it. We're just Charlton all the way.
Well, to be honest, Emmett, I'm half tempted to run around, smash the office up on that hype, listening to George and Andy talk about Wave Rider. But we're going to avoid...
Smashing and grabbing from Jake.
Just go with it. Come on. Change your mind. Come on.
We're going to go for the other horse George mentioned. We're going to side with Lightning Man, who sneaks in off bottom weight of a mark of 81. Now, he is steadily progressive, and I was impressed how he won at Lingfield 4 starts ago. That was the first time this horse came on my radar, really. He did a lot wrong, and he still won. He was crying out that day for a step up in trip, which he had done, and then he took his form to a new level over 1 mile 2. In time, he'll probably even get further, 1.5 miles. The trainer is operating at a 32% strike rate in recent weeks, so those factors help. He'll want a strongly run race. He's stepping up in class on Saturday, but and while he might find 1 or 2 too good, too classy possibly, I think 12-1 is a big price for him. I'm a good fan of Edward Greatorex, the jockey. I think he should probably get more rides than he does.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, to be honest, he's a little bit more streetwise than some of these other horses at this stage of their career. It's a bit of a stab at nothing off a low weight, off a low mark, and hopefully he's going to continue his upward curve. But yeah, I might have to have a small wager on Wave Rider now after listening to the 2 gents before me.
Pretty damn persuasive, aren't they?
Get on now, because it's going to be short.
They were. I'm going to get off here and text all my friends being like, I've heard absolute brilliant things about Wave Rider.
This fella's catching pigeons on the gallops. Get stuck in now. We'll switch back to Newmarket for our final race there. It's over 1 mile. It's the bet £10, get £40 with BetMGM Handicap. Classic encounter on his seasonal debut. Then improved when second on 2,000 Guineas Day at Newmarket. He won on his seasonal debut, improved when second on 2,000 Guineas Day at Newmarket, still unexposed. I think he'll take advantage of the drop in class with Billy the Kid back on board. George Gorman, what say you?
Yeah, this was another one where I had my list of the form horses and my list of the outsiders, and the list of the outsiders won out again. Like, I don't know what's up with me this week, but
if you're right, we're going to make fortunes.
You're going to have to bear with me with this one. This Red Hot Whisper. Like, he's off pretty much every time he pulls too hard, but he's been placed on 7 of his 11 career starts despite that, on ground varying from soft to good to firm. He ran up to his best 2 starts back when being allowed to make the running. He was only run down late, beaten a length and 3/4 off £5 higher than this. The reason he's now £5 lower is the handicap has chance because he ran awful last time. It was the second time they tried cheek pieces on him. Like, he didn't have cheek pieces on when he made the running, I should say. And they tried cheek pieces with a £5 claimer on board, and he just pulled too hard and got beat a long way. They tried cheek pieces previously, a while back, maybe 6 runs before that, and again, he had just pulled too hard. A Hood replaces the cheek pieces here. And just while he tends to settle when he's allowed to make the running, the Hood does give you hope that he may settle even if not getting to the front this time, off a career low mark of 77. He was beaten less than 2 lengths a year ago off 90. And I said 2 starts back, he was beaten a length and 3/4 off only £5 higher than this. At the very least, this horse hits the frame more often than not. And the Hood is a real positive move for him, I think. Should he not be able to get to the front? Because the only thing is he's drawn 7. If they want to get to the front, they might have to go great guns to get there. But it's just the reapplication of the Hood and the taking off of the cheek pieces, I think, could see this horse run into a place at a very big price.
Andy Newton, can you follow that?
Yeah, I think the Brookhouse camp had a couple entered in this as well a few days ago. So that's always a good angle that I like. And another yard, for the classic encounter yard, they had I think 3 entered in this. They'd come down on classic encounter, so certainly wouldn't put you off that. Up £4 from last time from Newmarket. But look, your Stuart Williams horse, Where's Freddie? Put a line through that. All right. Track stats 1 from 44 at Newmarket, so that's going to be probably 3rd or 4th favourite, but can't have that personally. And it's the other 2 that are propping up the market at the top. That Mythical Guess, the only course winner, I think that will go okay. Ran all right at Ascot last time out. The horse that won that race, I think it was a horse called My Cloud, which looks fairly useful, but it was Mythical Guess finished well clear of the 3rd that day, so I think that form looks fairly solid. And also that Royal Velvet, I think last time out probably needed to run Forfeit at Yarmouth. You watch that back, wasn't really given too much of a hard time, stayed on all right, certainly come on for that I think as well. Down £1 as well, Royal Velvet, so quite happy to sort of have a little punt on those 2 really against Classic Encounter. But yeah, it's interesting, the Brookhouse camp though did have a few entered in this, so yeah. At 20-1, George, not the worst shout, mate, I think.
Yeah, that 20-1 is still available, at least as I'm looking on the screen now. And Royal Velvet is a 6-1 shot as things stand. Jake, for you.
I'm going to start with Classic Encounter. He was originally with Charlie Appleby and changed hands in August of 2024. But his form for Appleby, I didn't think was too bad. He was good. He was a good second in a maiden, won by a horse called Hand of God, who is now rated 102. On his 3rd start and his final one for Appleby, he finished ahead of a horse called Papano, who is now part of the Willie Mullins stable and was part of the clan who went to the Triumph Hurdle, which was won by Paneros. On his first starts for Bowie, he didn't really train on. At the back end of last season, he bounced back on. At the back end of last season, he bounced back on seasonal debut at Redcar. In good style off a low mark of 77, and then the last day at Newmarket he finished 2nd in the same race where I touched on Sterling Knight earlier, who also finished 4th. So if I was siding with Sterling Knight in the one race, you'd have to make the case for Classic Encounter in this one. In 3rd in that race that I mentioned at Newmarket, there's a horse called Mr. for the Richard Hannon stable, who's won 4 times this season. So he's clearly thriving and he split them. There should be no issues with the ground or course. And in time, he may want further, but I think Classic Encounter, he was a good prospect for Appleby. I was surprised they got rid of him. I think he's better than a mark of 83. And at 2-1, I think when I saw him to start with, he was about 3. He's 2-1. He's being well backed. He'll probably go off favourite. But he'd be the one I'd side with.
I completely agree. I echo all of that. Classic Encounter for the 2:15 at Newmarket. Our final race on Saturday is the Boylesports Lockinge Stakes. It's the Group 1. We've got 9 runners. Rizalian is the favourite at 6-4. We haven't seen him since Royal Ascot, but was he stylish that day. He was also really stylish, classy and brave in the Irish 2000 Guineas when he beat his stable companion Hatem. That horse obviously confirmed that form in the Jersey Stakes. Dancing Gemini's got race fitness on side, and he gets Ryan Moore for the first time as well. He's a 7-2 shot for Roger Teal, the son of Camelot. Notable speech. Dual Group 1 winner last season. Maybe the Goodwood race fell apart, but he was really good in the 2000 Guineas. William Buick for Charlie Appleby, who's had an incredible start to the season and will surely have had Rebels Romance in the winner's enclosure in the Yorkshire Cup. That horse can't get beat tomorrow. Surely stretching out to a mile 6. Tamfana for Ross Ryan and David Menussier, 11-2. This is the big gun for him. She's race fit as well. Behind Dancing Gemini. Needs to reverse that form, but she may very well be capable of doing so. And Fallen Angel, we know what a good horse she was last season for the Carl Burke side. His team are in good form. Kieran Schumacher rides. She's a 14-1 shot. There were big talks about lead artist at the start of the season. Oisin Murphy rides intriguingly, an 18-1 shot for the Gosdens, but would need to improve. Can you explain to me, George Gorman, why Notable Speech is 4-1 and Rosalien is 6-4? Because there's nothing between them.
No, I think Rosalien's just a better horse. I really do. Like, I think, look, obviously Notable Speech came out on top of the Guineas, but it was his 4th run of the season.
Yeah.
I think when he beat Rosalien was first time out. Look, Rosalien's run to an RPR of over 115 on 4 out of 7 starts. Notable Speech, 3 from 8. Dancing Gemini, 2 from 12. He's joint best in at the weights with Notable Speech, but like I said, they're opposing off sort of level terms here, and that they're both making their seasonal debut. I can't see him beating here, really. I think he's probably too big, to be honest. I think I'd back him probably even down to evens. No, I think he'll probably
first time
win
out.
this. Yeah. The Dancing Gemini worry me because he's got 2 runs under his belt, but it's still a big step forward to take on Rosalien. Do you know what I mean? But if you were more each way price inclined, you could do much worse than lead artist. A dual Group 3 winner over a mile on Good to Firm and a mile 1 on Good to Soft. The second of those Group 3 winners was 3 starts back, and it was a career best. In the Dante Stakes. Just pulled too hard on his seasonal return. Like pulled too hard, weakened quickly, finished last in the Bet365 mile. The fact that he's finished last and Dancing Gemini won the race is why there's a difference in the prices here. But on ratings, he only has a mind with Dancing Gemini. I just think if you can forgive 1 run, which I think with horses it often pays to do, he's a huge price. Like he's got £1 to fine with him. And what's the difference in the prices?
It's 18-1 about lead artist, and it's 7-2 about Dancing Gemini.
Yeah, I just think just purely on that. He's rated 117, Dancing Gemini's rated 118, and they're running off levels. Like I'd have to have a little bit on lead artists each way here.
Okay. The hopes were very high about him at the start of the season. Maybe this is the race where he can come good. And look, there are going to be question marks about the 2 big guns towards the top of the betting, with the exception of Dancing Gemini, who's obviously been visually very, very impressive in his first 2 starts, Andy. Maybe he backs that up. I was pretty confident about him during the week, and I've completely changed my mind. I think the other 2 are in a different league. That being said, they're both making their seasonal debuts, and that's the reason why I can't understand why Notable Speech is 4-1, because I'm agreeing with George. Rosalien's the better horse. Don't doubt it. We haven't seen him since Royal Ascot.
Yes, I know. But look, it did win first time out back in 2023. And, I mean, it wasn't exactly a bad run first time out in the Guineas, was it? You know, coming second. And then, obviously, overturned that form at Ascot, had a few issues, some respiratory infection or something, didn't it, which made it miss the Sussex at Goodwood. So, look, it's got its ground. The Hannon horses are flying at the moment as well. I know, you know, the Charlie Appleby horses are as well. I just think that this looks the more reliable. I mean, Notable Speech, look, on its day, 100%. It's already been, you know, Rosalien, but it has thrown, you know, a few wobblers in there as well, isn't it? So you just don't know with Notable Speech, I think, personally. And course form as well, I think that's another plus. You know, the Hannons obviously love this race as well. I've won it 5 times, and I'm sort of cutting and pasting what George said, really, because the one at a bigger price was lead artist as well, because, you know, that's literally the only time it's finished out the first 3 from 8 runs on the turf. You know, it was sent off 11-4 that day. Dancing Gemini was 5-2, so they were pretty much joint favourites. And, you know, like George said, it just pulled too hard. They knew the race was over. They just let it coast home at its own time. Oisin Murphy takes over, and that at 20 odds is a monster price. I can't really have Tamfana. Look, as a horse that done us a few favours last season on the poddy. I think we put it up a couple of times as Naas when it came in. Just look, I think all its sort of big gun runs or wins, if you like, have been run against its own sex. So that would be my only sort of niggle with that. And the same similar sort of angle with Dancing Gemini. Every time it's delved into a Group 1, come up short. I think 5 times it's run into a Group 1, even though it has looked impressive this season. And Ryan being booked is another plus as well. But the solid one, it's got to be the Fav Group 1 form 1, 2, 1, 1. And yeah, I know it's first time out, but I think it's gone right fresh in the past personally. So yeah.
Well, one of the superstar stallions in the business, Night of Thunder, won this first time out back in 2015, literally 10 years ago, maybe a decade later. The Hannon team can do it again with Rosalien. Jake, where are you in the Lockinge?
I am with a horse I followed for a long time, and I will go off the cliff with it, but I'm with Dancing Gemini, and I have reaped the rewards of doing it this season.
Yeah, big time.
I was worried the Derby took the life out of this horse a little bit. When it finished 6th, I felt like he might have left him a little piece of himself in that race. He had a hard race that didn't think he saw out the trip, and he ran poorly in his next starts in the Coral Eclipse and the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. So it's a testament to Roger Teal to getting him back better than ever this season. I take Andy's point of his record in Group 1 races is poor. But I think this is the best version we've seen of this horse. And as you said, he's race fit. He's had 2 runs, which Rosalien and Notable Speech haven't had. And don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from Rosalien and Notable Speech. They're fantastic horses in their own rights. However, just the prices, I don't want to back Rosalien when he hasn't ran for a year, and I'm not sure how fit he's going to be or tuned up. And I don't fancy taking 6-4 on that. But I like Dancing Gemini. He travelled well the last day in the Bet365 mile. He always looked the winner to me, and he gave the impression there was more in the tank. Whilst it's a good race, I'm happy to side with him on the hope that race fitness will be on his side. And whilst I don't think he's got the class of a Rosalien, I'm hoping Saturday might just be the time to catch Dancing Gemini right.
Well, you could be right. I was with him all week, and the more I looked at the race, the more I started going, Notable Speech should not be. He just should not be 4-1. This is crazy.
I agree. That was the other angle. I actually have wrote down here, torn between this and Notable Speech. I think he's too big of a price at 4-1, but I'll nail my colours to the Dancing Gemini Mask and Roger Teal to win the Lockinge.
And listen, you've got the advantage of Ryan Moore, and we saw how good he was in Inisherin the other day, because Inisherin's a nice horse, but that was absolutely the deciding factor. So you have that. You've got race fitness on your side, and Roger Teal he already sounded bullish about him at the start of the season. That was before he came out and won at Doncaster, and then backed it up in Group 2 company at Sandown. I'm with Notable Speech. The 4-1's too big. It's too big. That Godolphin bandwagon is rolling. And if you're going to tell me that Rosalien is the better horse because he beat him at Royal Ascot, he beat him by 6 lengths. Notable Speech didn't turn up that day. I don't know why. I have no idea why. You're not telling me that's that horse's form. And I have a funny feeling he can blow a little bit hot and cold. Don't know what he did at Paris Longchamp. Not entirely certain he loved America. Appleby's rolling. This fella should win. Notable Speech for me.
It'll be their 10th winner, the Godolphin, if they pull it off in the Lockinge.
Yeah, they got a great record, and they took it with Modern Games only a couple of years ago as well. So go on, Appleby. Glory days for Godolphin are here again, and this is one who will go on to prove it. Okay, a couple of races to talk about at Naas. We've got a Group 3, the Coolmore Stud Blackbeard Filly Sprint Stakes even, Group 3. A couple of very interesting horses entered for that race. Anybody who has anything to say, you can do so. We've also got the Goffs Lachin Stakes, the Group 3 over 6 furlongs at Naas. Both of these races will be live on ITV4, which is a really nice touch. There is no betting. I have absolutely no clue what the prices are going to be, but I would imagine Whistle Jacket will be short enough. And I also would be very reluctant to say that that's as good as Barbouche is. She'll surely improve. Juris horses have seemingly needed the run, and she will get a slight weight allowance. And she already beat Whistle Jacket once. She might go and do it again, particularly with that Camille Pizarro form looking quite good too. So she's a big player. How do you see this race going, George? And do you have any thoughts on the juvenile race as well?
Yeah, I'll run through the juvenile race quickly because I've done a bit of pedigree corner.
Oh, good man.
Because I figured we've got nothing else to go on. So, Simply Astounding is out of minding, which makes her a Wootton Bassett half to Henry Longfellow, who's unbeaten as a 2-year-old, including Group 1 and a Group 2, second to Rosallion in St James Palace Stakes as 3. Very impressive on racecourse debut. Probably my idea of the favourite. Lady Iman is a 2-race unbeaten half-sister to West Acre, who is a Group 3 and Group 2 winner over 5 furlongs in Dubai. She beat True Love in a Curragh listed event last time. Probably not certain to need this trip, but if improving for the trip could give Simply Astounding something to think about. Saffron Dandy interested me a little bit, just purely for the fact it's making the trip over. It's Dandy Man, full sister to the high-class handicapper, the Bell Conductor, who's an 8-time winner. 7 of them came over 5 furlongs. Signora, interestingly, is a Frankel full sister to Exactly, who was obviously a Group 3 winner at 2 and an unlucky 4th in the French 1,000 Guineas last weekend. You got Green Sense is a half sister by Starman to the Group 3 winner K Club. I think that was over in Germany. And a black type performer back to Brussels. Both of those were best at 6. Well backed on debut to beat Extravagant, who was a half brother to Cloth of Stars and did so by 3 lengths. And Dancing Saxon, given what we've just been talking about, is a Saxon Warrior half to Dancing Gemini. So that horse was worth noting as well. As True Love, who is out of Alluringly, making her half to Lily Pond and Truly Enchanted, who are both Group 2 winners at the Curragh. Of those, it's Simply Astounding, probably my idea of the favourite. And if it wasn't the favourite, obviously I'd back it based on that. But Green Sense, I would worry about. It's just how many of these are going to be allowed to take each other on, isn't it? It's we'll have to wait and see. But Simply Astounding probably is the horse with the most degree of promise, purely even just based on pedigree. But maybe could get caught out by a speedier one. If you were looking for something like that, maybe Saffron Dandy, that sort of horse, or Lady Iman. As for the other race, I'd be with Babouche. Beaten a length and a half in the Group 1 Phoenix Stakes off the same terms as these, over the same trip on good to firm ground. Pound higher. Oh, sorry, this is obviously beat the other horse, the likely favourite, whose name is escaping me right now. The Whistle Jacket. Pound higher on RPRs, pound lower on official ratings, but receives £3. I just think probably the best treated of the 2 of them. So I'd be with Babouche.
I'm pretty certain Simply Astounding is going the exact same route as Fairy Godmother, in that she's running the same race. Yeah, very same race. Sparkling Sea wins it. Fairy Godmother finished second. They throw Fairy Godmother into a group race and then they back her as though defeat is out of the question, and she turns the form around with Jarline's horse, and then we get to see at Royal Ascot just how good she was. By Wootton Bassett out of Minding, half brother to Henry Longfellow, and out of Aidan O'Brien's best filly. And he's had some incredible fillies. Oh, she'll win. And she'll be favourite. She'll be a heavy favourite too. This was the race that was nominated for us straight after that race too. I'm a Whistle Jacket. I think he will turn the form around with Babouche from last season. And I think he'll win the Commonwealth Cup. Andy?
Look, the Group 3, look, I'm with Babouche. I think personally, I think that will uphold the form there. I just think that if we go back to the other 2-year-old race, the Hannon team won that as well before. So that Saffron Dandy coming over will be interesting. We have to wait and see what the final decks are. Look, a lot of people are going to be latching onto that Lady Iman. It was visually impressive last time out. Will it stay another furlong? Don't know. It looked like it probably would. Scythe through the field and had quite a bit in hand over True Love. Will True Love improve for the run? Probably will. Like you say, Simply Outstanding, probably bred for a bit further, but distance winner has shown us pace to win on debut. So it's just lots of ifs and buts, isn't there, in that race? O'Brien's won it 4 of the last 8. Only other thing to note, when we do get the draw and everything, there's been no winner from stall 1, which might be something there or not, I don't know, which We have to see when the old draw gets given out. So yeah, apart from that, yeah, and look, I just think Babouche in the other one, but yeah, we have to wait and see. We're doing this a little bit blind because the final decks aren't out, but I'll probably take a punt on Lady Iman and Babouche if you want to do a little double up on them.
It's always the fun thing about talking about Irish racing on a Thursday when it's the racing on the Sunday and you've got absolutely no clue what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen now, Jake? All these horses will be scratched. But in the assumption they're not, who are you with?
So just starting with the juvenile, Aidan O'Brien's won it obviously last year with Fairy Godmother, as you said. He's won 4 of the last 6 renewals of the race. Normally ends up being his Albany horse at Royal Ascot. This race has actually produced the Albany winner the last 3 renewals. So in your anti-post market, whatever wins this, go straight to the Albany market for Royal Ascot. I thought maybe True Love might be able to turn the form around with Lady Iman when last seen. But like you said, there's no prices, so we'll just take a stab. Adrian Murray's horse, Leblon Beach, has not been touched upon. Took a marked step forward from her 2 debut efforts, which, let's be honest, were poor. But she won at Dundalk the last day. She beat a horse called First Approach from the Aidan O'Brien yard. Aidan O'Brien's come out and said that this First Approach could be an Ascot horse in the making. He's ran since and won since. So in a race with no betting and you're looking for a little bit of an edge, I'd be intrigued to see what Leblon Beach comes up with. It's unclear where the limitations lie. And then if we just touch on the following race, Babouche v Whistle Jacket. I am excited to see Babouche back on the track. Ended last season at Newmarket in disappointing fashion, finishing 4th in the Chieveley Park. And to be honest, I did expect a little bit more on the seasonal debut, but it's hard to forget her Phoenix Stakes win. She was mighty impressive that day, beating Whistle Jacket and Arizona Blaze. The latter has won the Prix-Sigui at Chantilly when last seen. So I think, whilst it's a cracking race, don't get me wrong, and I do like Whistle Jacket as a horse. I just think Whistle Jacket, if it gets beat, we might see him over a little bit further. He does a lot of his best work at the end of a race. But you're brave to take on Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. But I'll side with Babouche and I'll side with Leblon Beach. Probably going to be a nice each way price in the race before.
The amount of people who were saying to us, the Whistle Jacket won't train on. He wouldn't get a mile in a horse box. Oh, he will, and he has trained on. Jake, where did I meet you last week?
You met me at the Racing Media Academy, Emmet. I threw myself on your mercy, basically. For a little bit of context, gentlemen, Emmet was doing a talk, a very good talk, which actually went down very well with the academy students. And we went round the group and we asked, what's your ambitions in the racing industry and what section of the media you'd like to go into? And I said to Emmet, I like my written journalism side of things, but I also like previewing and tipping and the form study side of things. And I said to Emmet, and I quote, I know I can do it, I just need to be given a bit of a chance. And all of a sudden, here we are a week later, I'm now on the podcast. Just a little plug to the Racing Media Academy. Absolutely brilliant week. It's organised from Josh Apiafi. I know you mentioned it last week on the podcast. Lee Molson, Kafgoff, Abby Apiafi, all run it. Fantastic week. I met some of the most incredible people. We went through the entire broadcast and media section in a week. It was a relentless week. There was barely any sleep, but it was a fantastic week. And now I'm on placement with Ascot Racecourse and hopefully have a good future in journalism.
What age are you?
24.
You're ahead of me in terms of racing. You're ahead of me at your age. You're a very impressive young man. And the reason I didn't introduce you as Racing Academy, not graduate yet, but you're about to be, or Racing Academy student, or here's Jake, he's 24, is because I didn't want to put any pressure on you at the start. I just wanted you to have fun, first of all. And I also didn't want any preconceived notions from the listeners or from the viewers. I wanted you to just go in and do it. And I would defy anybody to say that you were anything other than excellent. Maybe good.
Thank you very much.
Maybe good might be where we'll land. But I thought that was a very, very strong debut. And I had no idea what to expect from you. So it's not easy to do it.
Can we upgrade it to an excellent if I go through eight for eight winners on the weekend? We'll upgrade it to excellent.
You do that, you get legendary status, Jake. You get
at this
that.
race, I'll take 2, but I'll take 2 at this rate. But we're happy. No, thank you very much for having me on, gents. It's been much appreciated. I've loved it.
Yeah, and to come on with George and Andy, who were very well established, is not an easy thing to do, and particularly to follow them and have the dynamic you did. Well done. Well done. That Racing Academy is excellent. I've heard about it for years, and Josh has talked to me about it for years, but to actually be over there and meet the 15 of you, all very impressive individuals. None of you, by the way, you're all Gen Z. None of you what the establishment media tells us. Oh, Gen Z, they're all lazy. They're narcissists. They're self-entitled. Oh, they're no good. Young people today. No, they're people who are young, and they're all very impressive, each in their own unique way. But particularly you, Jake. So, look, best of luck to you. I hope we have you back on again. I would love to do that.
No, please do. Please do.
This was a very strong debut. If none of your horses win, delete his number.
Never. Yeah.
Delete his number.
Never see me again.
Forget him.
You'll never see me again. You can abuse me on Twitter. I'm sure I'll be fine.
We'll find you and ask it, mate. It's fine. Okay, let's get naps for the weekend. What is your best bet for the weekend, George Gorman?
Come back to me.
Jesus Christ. Andy Newton, what is your best bet for the weekend?
Always catch me out.
You got the wrong one. Palace to beat Man City in the FA Cup final. Come on, you Eagle. Right?
I would love that. Oh, the Pep Guardiola's face if he goes through a season trophyless. Oh, that would be some sight.
Yeah.
I don't care. We've won the league. I don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. We've won the league. It's all okay.
Liverpool have done fantastic. But yeah, look, good luck to the Eagles anyway. My team, as some people might know, might not know. We've also got the Preakness on Saturday as well. So good luck to Safi Osborne, who is riding over there. She will become, if she can do it, the first female win the Preakness and create a bit of history there. She rides Heart of Honour for her dad Jamie.
Best of luck to her, but even money on this side of the pond about journalism. Put it down, pick it up.
Yeah, you think?
He'll crush them.
The last 5 winners of the Preakness
were new shooters.
Didn't run in the...
Yeah. I'd be afraid of the Coolmore horse. I would be afraid of him. But, nah, journalism no way. No. The is it Asmussen or Pletcher? Clever again. That's the horse. I'd be nervous of him. And the boys were pretty big at him yesterday. But they were also just very much of the... Charlie and Ryan were just very much of the view. He wins. Like, he's in all the exotics, all the multiples. Clever again is Steve Asmussen, with Jose Ortiz. He's just short at 7s. For what he's done so far, he's pretty short. Journalism will crush that lot. My God, we're getting even money. Even money. Ain't no sovereignty to worry about this time.
Maybe.
Don't complicate your mind, Andy. Don't complicate your mind.
I don't know. I'm for what it's worth. I'm sort of siding towards the Baffett horse. I mean, he's won it 8 times, and this is just like a sort of similar type of thing that he's done before, with especially that National Treasure. But he's one's called goal orientated. So we shall see. It'll be a good race, but
one for the good guys. One for the chalk one up for the good guys of racing. If Bob Baffett can get one in the winners' enclosure in a classic. The good guys.
Look, on the home front, look, I'm glad that George is, not quite ready with his naps, because he might go with Wave Rider, but I'm in that first, mate. I've got there first, okay. All right? Wave Rider is going to be the each way now, and I think Ides of March is going to be the sort of the nap, and Wave Rider MB each way. They're the two to sort of take out on the domestic front this weekend.
Okay, I'll jump in behind you and just say Ides of March is my nap. I'm keeping it real simple for this episode. Ides of March. Don't complicate your mind, George.
Well, it was between them for my next best was Ides of March and Wave Rider. I think I just side with Wave Rider. My nap is going to be Al Arsi, though.
Damn. All right, 8 years of age. Jake, your nap.
My nap is Art Market in the JCB Handicap at Newmarket at 140, and my next best we're going to stab at Lightning Man in the Heritage Handicap.
Good man.
Low weight and a nice price each way.
Good man. Okay, very, very briefly. The line in winter. Aidan O'Brien wins every single Derby trial run in Britain and Ireland, with the exception of the Blue Ribbon trial at Epsom. Trinity College was only beaten ahead, and today, as we're recording the Dante, where the line in winter ended up being 6th. He wasn't beaten far. And it's certainly a better trial than Augusta Rodan and City of Troy won, and they both went on to go and win the Derby. So, George Gorman, your thoughts on the Line in Winter's comeback, and also the hugely impressive winner for Rafe Beckett?
Yeah, on the Line in Winter front, like he's pulled too hard early, hasn't he? He just looked like a fresh horse to me. Like he didn't look necessarily undercooked, because if you look, a gap closes on him in the straight, and I say gap closes on him because if he was going well enough, he'd have been able to get through it. He looked like he was maybe hanging a little bit as well, was maybe why he couldn't get through the gap. But the gap closes on him. If he's not fit, he stops there and he actually starts keeping on again towards the line. I think like another 100 yards, he might have been second or third. Like I wouldn't worry about it too much personally. It might put paid to his Derby chance in terms of O'Brien won't want to go there off the back of a run like that. But in terms of his long-term progress, I don't think it's a problem. I certainly wouldn't be saying he hasn't trained on or anything like that. I wouldn't be too worried about that run. Like he's just pulled too hard, like just a bit too gassy. In terms of the winner, I'm not sure many of us saw it coming, but very impressive winner of Dante, and deserves to take his chance if that's what connections decide. He
was good. There was a few very shrewd people on X who were talking about him, and I ignored them all. So well done to you. You were absolutely right about him. He was 18-1, so look, it's not expected. Rafe Beckett's horses have not been performing at that level, but he was really good, and he's a very promising horse. There's probably a couple of ways of looking at the Line in Winter, Andy. Japan got beaten in the race, and then he went on to run a nice race in the Derby, not quite good enough, wins the Ascot Derby, the King Edward VII Stakes, and ends up winning the Juddmonte International. And maybe this whole thing is actually work backwards from the Juddmonte. That's what they're going to do. And he's a very unusual Aidan O'Brien 2-year-old. He doesn't have a Group 1 win to his CV, so he can run in the King Edward VII Stakes if they choose to do so. That could be an option for him. That being said, if he lines up in the Derby, he'll win it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen this film before, haven't we? With Aidan, I know it wasn't the Dante, but City of Troy was a similar type of story, if you like. Flopping in the guineas and then coming out and winning the Derby. But I don't know. I'm just looking at the betting now. I mean, they pushed it out to 5, 6s in places.
Yeah.
The line in is from. I mean, they basically sort of flip-flopped with Delacroix, haven't they? I mean, that's now 5-2, which was the price the Line winner was before the Dante, and that's how they've gone. I mean, I don't know. There's still going to be plenty of people that are going to be happy with the 6-1 with the Line in Winter. We'll just have to see. Like George said, will the horse actually go there? I didn't quite see the interview afterwards with Aidan on IT. Sure what he said. I know he mentioned something about potentially dropping it back in trip. We'll have to see, whatever. In terms of the winner, Pride of Aris, I mean, that was in my place pot, but unfortunately I was already out.
So
that was a bit annoying. So I did sort of home in on that and think that could run okay today. And look, Rafe Beckett, he had the third a few years back, didn't he, with Workforce? Was it Workforce? No, Westover, sorry, thinking it was Workforce, the Ryan Moore Derby winner.
It is the Workforce route to the Derby, isn't it? Maiden, Dante, Derby.
Yeah, well, Workforce was beaten in the Dante, and then I think it's one of the only ones to come out and then go on and win it. You've had 11.
The bit came through his mouth, didn't it?
Yeah,
I think he would have won the Dante, but he had a tack malfunction.
Yeah, he came second, didn't it? But I think you've had 11 Dante winners go on and win the Derby. So, that is fairly, in terms of the domestic trials, it's certainly the best one. So, Pride of Aris we'll see what happens there. After the race, Beckett was saying, he kept sort of going on about it's a work course, which was a bit of a funny thing for me to sort of, it's almost like sort of downgrading it. But then he did say it had, a lot more speed than Westover, his Derby third. So we'll see. He's only had 2 runs, could improve. And then, we haven't even talked about, all the other O'Brien horses in there yet. So we just have to see what happens. I mean, look, out of all of them at the moment, you can see why Delacroix is going to be the favourite. He's had the sort of least troubled preparation.
Yeah.
And
he's got Group 1 form as a juvenile as well. He's won 2 Derby trials. That was the the golden highway for Aidan O'Brien back in the early 2000s. It's a long time since horses taken the Ballysack Sternstown route and go to win the Derby for Aidan. But it might be him. It's funny how this thing can change. We're doing a lot of work with William Hill because they're the sponsors of TalkSport 2 for the betting side of things. Sam Norris made a comment on the show today that had to be dumped. Maybe if you were listening, make sure you're listening to Racing Live on TalkSport 2 because you never know what's going to happen. But the reason I mentioned that is because William Hill, literally right in front of me, were 6-1 the line in winter. And I was going to say, if they don't take him to the French Derby, he could still end up being round Moore's Mount and he could still win. And like that, they cut him to 9-2. So somebody somewhere went, 6-1 is too big. Literally in the last few seconds, it's 6:21 on Thursday evening. Jake, we talked about it beforehand off air, but for the benefit of the listeners and the viewers, your thoughts on the line in winter. And to be fair, your thoughts on Pride of Aris as well, who was hugely impressive for Rafe Beckett.
Yeah, he was. The line in winter, I think the writing was on the wall after about a furlong, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He was, even beforehand, he was quite edgy. He was sweating up a little bit. He pulled way too hard. He literally pulled his chances away. He jumped out quite prominently, and Ryan immediately took a pull, almost like he knew it was going to happen. And to be fair, I'll take some of the blame. He was carrying my money.
Mine too, mate.
I should have listened to Aidan O'Brien when he said he'll come on for it, but there was a part of me in the back of my mind was going, "Nah, you've got this. Come on."
We're not the only ones who thought that, though. He went from 5-4 to 11-8 on in a matter of seconds.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I saw the support before the off, and I felt more confident from it, regardless of the antics of the horse. It was interesting. I thought the same thing about George when he touched on the gap that appeared. He went for a gap, and if he was up the caliber that this horse can normally possess, and if he hadn't over raced, he probably would have took it and gone through the gap. But that also completely ruined his chances when he got squeezed out. Look, I'll be on the side of let's put a line through it. We got told he was going to come on for the run, and everything that could have gone wrong on the day went wrong. But take nothing away from the winner, Pride of Aris. Like you say, Rafe Beckett needed that, I think.
Yeah.
Very impressive Dante winner. It was a bit of a messy renewal, but this horse was even waiting for room at one point, found a little bit of traffic problems and then kicked through when the gap came. I don't know too much about the horse. He's only had the 2 runs, but no, it was a mighty impressive performance. And quick comment on Wimbledon Hawkeye back in third, who looked in trouble fairly early on in the race. He plugged. I think there's something big in this horse.
Yeah.
His form behind the line in winter a few starts ago was impressive. But I don't know. He's gone off the boil a little bit. But no, the winner was very good. Line in winter, I wouldn't worry too much about today.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about him either. I spoke with James Owen today for TalkSport 2, and he was very confident of a big run. I wonder if that Guineas form is as good as people thought it was. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. This horse been on my agenda for a while, and he won at Newmarket, I think, on his 4th start. And I thought, okay, here we go. This could be something special, but it's not quite worked out for him. But we'll see. A work in progress, I think.
Maybe it needs to go hurdling, and we'll see it at the Cheltenham Festival next season.
If I had said that to James on today, I think he would have hung up the phone if my line had been, well, you could always go over the Triumph Hurdler with him next season. 6-1 is available about the line in winter with 3 firms. 2 of them apparently would have a connection to the Ballydoyle yard because of Derek Smith's connection. If you can work out who they are, then you know they're serious. Yeah, I wouldn't lose faith in the line in winter. He might not win the Derby, but he will win a big Group 1, and I suspect it'll be the Jumpman International and probably some other races as well. But if you're on him for the Derby, hold those tickets. I wouldn't give him up just yet. Jake, great debut. Another example of the fact that the Racing Media Academy do a fantastic job. Shout out to Josh, to Kath, to Abby, to Lee, to the whole team there. They do brilliant. And shout out to all your classmates as well. Each and every one of them, incredibly impressive people. And I know you're all going to have a significant impact on the racing media world going forward. And please God, we'll be talking to you again, Jake, very, very soon. From Jake, from Andy, from George, and from Winston, who's coming to crash the show as well, and me. Emmet Kennedy, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You can catch up with Basher Watts, who breaks his silence on that controversial disqualification of his horse in the French 1000 Guineas, and Henry de Bromhead, who pays tribute to the great Rachel Blackmore in a podcast audio exclusive episode available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, all good podcast apps, and some rubbish ones as well. Plus, our preview of the Preakness Stakes is available for you with two of my favourite American pundits. It was a good crack, it's good fun, and there's at least 2 big price selections on the undercard for Pimlico that you do not want to miss out on. That's available for you now on YouTube and all good podcast apps and some rubbish ones as well. If you haven't liked this video already, come on. Hit the like button, hit subscribe on YouTube, all good podcast apps. It helps with the algorithm. From George, Jake, Andy, and me, look after yourself and each other. God bless.
In horse racing, every furlong matters and every episode counts. So stay ahead of the field by hitting subscribe to the Final Furlong podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. It's free and it gets you one step closer to the winner's enclosure. Subscribe to the Final Furlong podcast and join us on the gravy train.